So welcome back to CruciFit Pod. We've got Daniel Self back in the house. He's going to flip the mics here and ask us a few questions about our journey, how we got to the podcast. Quick look at our journey into faith in general, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I've been excited about this one to get to know you guys better. You have a growing fan base, people engaging, listening, international.
Yeah.
And the people want to know. They want to know more about you. And so I just want to hear it today. And the first question is, how did we get here? How did the podcast start? And the name. Can you guys, let's start right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, gosh, how long ago has it been? So I decided probably a couple years ago to start a rucking club. And we met on Sunday mornings, ruck buddies, and it was kind of open to anyone. I had a note up at the gym, whatever. And so the first few months, we had a fair few people rucking with us, and it was so much fun. And then kind of one by one, people dropped off. And so it ended up mostly being Aaron and I in these like in-depth conversations about life, politics, whatever we were into at the time. And, you know, at a certain point, we're like, oh, this would be so fun to have as a podcast, and having no clue that it was going to be faith-based or Christian-based, because at that time, neither of us identified as Christians, right? I guess I don't want to speak for you, Aaron, but it was just not a part of our conversation or what we were doing. And so it kind of just, things changed for both of us in similar ways around the same time, but from very different paths of coming to Christianity, me coming back and Aaron coming to it for the first time. And then we would still just have all of these conversations, and that kind of just morphed into like, gosh, what if this was the podcast? Because how cool would it be for us as people who are new on this journey to have something like this to listen to of other people who are new on this journey, and how could we document this? And talked about that for a while, and then finally I think God just was like, yeah, you're doing it, it's time. And at least for myself, I was like, no, that's crazy, and I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't, all those things of like, I'm not good enough, I don't know, for me anyways. And then Aaron just one day came up with the name, so I don't know, Aaron, if you want to talk about that, how you got the name.
Just a little the same story, but shared from my perspective. We were rucking, talking about this stuff, but for a little bit of backstory, I've always felt a draw to podcasting. I love listening to podcasts, and I always foresaw myself doing some form of podcast, but everything always felt like it was missing one element. So I never really started anything with any serious intent, because it always felt like there was one thing missing, and I couldn't put my finger on what that thing was. I spoke to you after I came to my first sermon. The sermon was the one with the blue and white rope, and talked about, I think the blue being the life that we live, and then the eternity being the white rope that stretched on all the way out of the room. That sermon hit me really hard. It was my first, but it really hit me in that you talked about the talents, and in essence, wasting your talents and burying them in fear. And so that hit me hard, and I started to realize, like, there is a calling on me, and I need to step into that, figure out what that is. And I didn't know at the time what that was, but God had been talking to me a lot in that recent moment, and it was all about share your voice, share your story. And he just kept putting me in situations that I was called to do that, and that's not what I wanted to do at all. But he was making it quite obvious. I just didn't know how. So it's funny, because for whatever talents I have, one of them is not necessarily picking up on obvious signs. And on this part of him, this part of God's just telling me, you're here to share your voice, you're here to share your story, and you're here to talk. I want your voice. And he just kept hitting me with that. And on the other side, I'm like, I'd like to do a podcast one day. I never thought to put the two together. Yeah. And then I was talking to a good friend of mine and sharing that story, and she said, have you thought maybe you're sharing your voice through a podcast? And I was like, oh yeah.
That would work.
Yeah. The name CruciFit is just a play on words.
Yeah.
We actually both pretty avid CrossFitters, and I just think it's funny that it's CrossFit, but we couldn't just steal their name. We were just gonna like re-logo it.
Yeah.
So
Like
it didn't
cross
say, but it was
space
just drawn like Prince.
Yeah.
With fit on the end. But
Yeah.
I thought that might be going a little far. Then CruciFit just kind of came.
How long have you guys been doing this now?
This is episode 12. So 12 weeks of recording.
That's wild because that's 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
That's
started
pretty wild.
at the start of the year.
What has been the most rewarding and challenging thing about this journey of 3 months?
The most rewarding thing for me is like when we talk to people, this is the most fun thing that I do in my life.
Wow.
So every time we have a conversation with anyone, I will go away just cup full. Like there is nothing about this that drains my cup, and that's so rare for me. Like most things, even the things that I love and do or give back to the community, even with like coaching, I love coaching at the gym, and I love giving back to the community, but it drains me. Like it takes a lot out of me. It's been one of the only things I've done in my life where every conversation I just walk out feeling so happy.
Wow.
So that's definitely one for me.
That's good.
Yeah. So I think the hardest thing for me has been getting over the fact that I'm not starting this from a place of being a perfect person. And who am I to talk about this when there are people who have been doing this for far longer and whether perceived or real have like a perceived, more blemish-free life, or, coming out in a phase of life that, it's just, I've been in a hard spot. So coming out as like, I'm a Christian and I'm going to be talking about this in a place of life where, a lot of people might have a lot of judgment about that.
Yeah.
It was really hard. It's gotten a lot less hard the more people I talk to.
Yeah.
And the further on we get in this journey. And the most rewarding thing for me is similar to Aaron, is I just love talking to people.
Yeah.
And it's something I love talking about. And it feels so special that God is trusting us to do this. And really reminding ourselves of like, he does not call the qualified, he qualifies the called, right?
Yeah, that's a constant reminder.
That's good.
So you have to become so public with something so fresh into it. And for me, fresh into a divorce, fresh into Christianity, there's just a lot of layers there.
Right.
So that was really hard to work through in the beginning.
There's a lot of reasons not to do this.
Oh, there's all, yeah.
Internal voices, external voices saying, what are you doing?
Time, like all of the things.
And I think it would be so easy not to, but I'm haunted by, is it Matthew 20:23? The Matthew where he says, I never even knew you. Like that haunts me.
Yeah.
And that along with the buried talents and fear, I figured I'd rather do this and meet whatever comes than risk that. Like that haunts me.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing this is something I do a lot is see people's spiritual journey.
Right.
And one thing that absolutely makes me 100% in your corner, fans of you guys, not just as friends, but this podcast, is we're not even up on a year yet.
No.
from when you kind of jumped back into church and this relationship with Jesus, and about the same for you.
6:22.
Okay.
Was my first time in here.
Okay.
My story's a little different. I came here to know Christ, but I've spoke to God my whole life.
Yeah.
So it was a little different, but yeah, at first, in essence, the first time I ever came to church, other than when I was just trying to get out of work in the army.
Well, this is what's amazing about it, is so often, most often, when I'm seeing people's lives, is they come to a moment with Jesus and they have this, salvation, this experience, this awakening. They might get baptized. They might, oftentimes people say yes to Jesus, and the first thing they do is say no. I'm not going to do the next thing.
Yeah.
And to watch the two of you continue to say yes, yes, yes. And here you are, not even a year out, both of you, and you've decided to go public with your faith. There are people who have been in the church for 40 years who say, I don't know enough.
Right.
I'll never know it. They have never gotten past that point of going public.
Yeah.
And part of what I love about the two of you is you said, we're doing it.
Yeah. It's like we're either dumb enough to do it or, I don't know. God just said do it. And so for me, I spent so many years not listening to that, that I'm kind of like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
you touched on something that is absolutely fundamental to following Jesus, and that is hearing from him and saying yes. You've both said, you heard this. And people hear things all the time, prompts and calls, and they say, not yet.
Yeah.
And not yet turns into 1 year, 2 years, 20 years. The fact that you guys both said yes right away has probably been absolutely thrilling and terrifying. And so has there been pushback in your lives to this?
For me, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and you're aware of some of it. There's been pushback from some people in the church. There's been pushback from a really close friend. And yeah, that friendship's over. And it's really heartbreaking. But, you know, that's been hard.
Yeah.
That's been hard because people have a really hard time. Some people have a really hard time with with people becoming versions of themselves that they're not comfortable with.
Absolutely.
It doesn't fit their narrative. And so I've had to sit with that. I mean, when we started this podcast, there was some pushback and that was pretty hard, and kind of we moved through that. Yeah, it's heartbreaking. And through all this, Aaron shared a meme with me that was basically like, if you want to know who your real true friends are, start talking about Jesus. And that has proved to be very true. Yeah. And so as heartbreaking as it is, I also, you know, have read a lot about like God not only puts in your life who he wants to see in your life, but he has a way of making it clear who's not supposed to be in your life as well.
Yeah.
And so trusting that, even though there's lots of tears and it's really hard, but really just going back to that trust of like, okay.
I mean, if we waited until we were perfect to speak into a mic, no one would ever speak into a mic.
Never. And that's a good thing about a podcast, because you're learning in those first 50 episodes, you're learning how to speak better, and no one's listening.
Right. Well, that's what we thought. We thought, oh my gosh, no one's going to listen. And then it was a little bit scary because like 2 weeks in, we're like, wait, more than 2 people have listened? What are we? What?
My parents listened, and then somebody else, you know?
We were banking on Aaron's dad.
Yeah.
And there was one other person. We're like, okay, they'll for sure listen. Christian. Yeah. We're like, we love 2 listeners.
Well, and it was so unfortunate that some of the pushback you got was from people in the church, because and that is just such churchianity that you know, you need to wait your turn and pay your dues.
Yeah.
And if you look throughout the Bible, you see God changing people's lives, and pretty soon after that, they're like, "You'll never guess what happened." And they're telling, and in fact, he tells them, "Go and tell," and they just go and tell, and their whole it's amazing. I don't even need to go into that, but good for you guys pushing through some of that. As you look forward in this podcast, like you started this, faced some rocky roads, but also had some amazing conversations. What is, if you could paint me a picture, episode 100, looking ahead in the future, where do you hope this not just takes you, but takes this message that you guys have?
Yeah, I like to say that I'm treating the podcast like one small weapon in an arsenal to fight evil. And so in essence, it's a public declaration of war against an enemy that comes to kill, steal, and destroy.
That's good.
And what I mean by that is I'm intending to build an army, literally. I think we spoke about it last time. Literally build an army that can fight child exploitation. Yeah. So I want to use this to build some awareness. So if I had a dream, in episode 100, might be a little too soon, but if I could sit down with someone like Sean Ryan or Tim Tebow, then we could talk.
Yeah.
We could make a difference. So that's the long horizon idea. For me, for my part.
I love that. How about you?
Yeah, I love that too. I've always said, like, I would love to help feed that army. But mine feels a little bit smaller and more internal, that if people can listen to this and know God and know I don't have to be perfect. Things don't have to be perfect. I can be that one sheep over and over again, and he'll still come back and get me, and he's still there for me, and just kind of hear from others who've been through life and been called back over and over again, that like it's not too late, and there's so much beauty in it, and that it's just kind of like a little beacon of light for people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think is worth considering. Like it gives it gives people permission to be brave in their faith and bold in their declaration of faith, which I didn't really anticipate that happening. But for the couple of things that went sour or we got pushed back on, there's been exponentially more positive support, particularly from the church.
Yes.
Everybody walking around. It's nothing now but positive support from the church. And we have one friend in common who's currently doing like a horse. He's doing a ranching experience for 40 days for PTSD kind of stuff. But he reached out and he was what you would call just starting to kick the tires. Just starting, but he felt he could reach out to me and talk about it.
Yeah.
So if we can be that beacon that people just feel confident enough because they know they're not going to get too much preaching from us because we don't really know what we're talking about, but we can share that layman's view and help out. So I think the fact that we are so brand new and so out of our depth, it gives people like confidence to be able to approach us.
That's great.
And they know our histories and our pasts too. So it's not like, oh, well, it's easy for you to say you're this person who's led this like blemish-free life.
Right.
Like neither of us have.
Right.
Far from it.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think there's just so much beauty in that.
I agree. We talk about the trajectory changing step of faith you both made at different points in time. But what's something else from your past? Think back that may have led you to change your trajectory or quietly built into this moment that maybe you wouldn't have expected. What's something that has built you into who you are?
Yeah, recently, just before maybe it was around the time I first started coming into the church, but we'd been talking about some of this, and I was journaling one time, and I think I asked myself in my journal question, who could have believed that you would be here right now, given, giving up alcohol and all the things that I used to be complete under control of, and then turning to God and praying and wearing a cross and going to church. But the answer that I wrote down, which was really strange, was that only the people that know me really well. And then I thought, well, if there's people that know me really well, who's the other version of me? And so that was kind of a pivotal shift. And I've had a few stories throughout my life where God just reached in, took hold of me, saved me from whatever destruction or ruin, or just blessed me in a situation that I couldn't explain necessarily at the time, even though I'd prayed for it. I look back, and I'll probably get into those as we go. But
that'd be good.
Looking back at some of those now, I think, some pivotal shaping for sure.
That's great.
So something that comes to mind to me that is sort of a moment in my life that I didn't think was linked to faith in God, that now I look back and it's like, oh yeah, that really started shifting things for me, was when my oldest was born. She's 13 now. She had severe meconium aspiration, so she was born at home. We went from home to the hospital, from hospital flight to children's hospital. Her first flight for life of 2 in her life. But that we got back, and up to that point, so I would have been 27 then, and from about 17 to 27, I would have told you, oh, I'm an atheist, like without even a question. And when we got back from the hospital, she just felt like really, really unsettled to me. So I took her to see this woman who did acupressure, is like what her business card was. Someone had recommended her, and she said, go take her to see this woman. And I was telling this woman our whole story about her birth and her, like the trauma of her birth and all of this. And so I think that's why she's really unsettled in her body. Like she just felt really not present. And she was, a newborn.
You're right.
And this woman looked at me and she said, no, that's not it. She said, you had a miscarriage before this. And there's just some uncertainty of whether, like Hayden is my daughter, Hayden has, there's uncertainty whether it's her turn or not. And I looked at this woman and I'm like, I had spoon fed her this whole story of why I thought, what was going on, and I hadn't talked about a miscarriage at all, which I had had. And I'm just looking at her like, what? Like, that's what you're picking up on? And she's like, yeah, so you just really need to reassure her that it's her turn to be here. She's supposed to be here. She made it, like, she is supposed to be here. And so it was that moment where I was like, there's so much more to this world than I can see.
Yeah.
So I don't know how this woman knew that, what she was tapped into. I have no clue. But I know I didn't tell her anything about having had a miscarriage. So she was getting it from somewhere. And so that 13 years ago kind of started me back on this path of like, oh, there is a lot more
That meets the eye.
that meets the eye.
Yeah.
And being open to that again. And then it went a few more, probably, you know, for me, it took 9-10 more years to realize, oh, that's God.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but just thinking about it, that was a moment that really took me from, nope, this is it, you know, to, oh, there's more.
Yeah.
And I don't know what God would have had planned, but I like to think that was him being a little bit like, hey, you might not be fully ready, but like, let's get your toe back in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. And both of you kind of touched on something. There's a quote that says that God whispers to us in beauty, but his megaphone is in pain. Like, we hear him so much clearer. What are some moments in the past, maybe, where, he's probably been speaking and whispering in beautiful moments and things that have happened, but then there are moments like that where it is shouted to your heart and soul that there is something more. What are some more of those?
Yeah, I have a story from time when I was in Afghanistan. Probably not going to go in the direction people would imagine, but and I don't even know that I shared this with my sister or not. Hopefully she listens, but there was a time I was doing private security in Afghanistan, and we were, we weren't doing a ton, but her son, who was maybe 1 or 2 at the time, he'd come down with some pretty severe, is it meningitis? It's like the brain one. Yeah, he came down with meningitis, and it was deteriorating pretty bad. And I spoke to my sister, and I think she truly believed, I don't remember if she said it, but I think she did, that they thought he was gone. They thought he was going to die. At this point, I'd always prayed to God. So I've always talked to him, and he's always answered my prayers. But then I just didn't know Jesus, but I kind of knew God in a weird way. So I prayed that night, and I said, if you need some sort of a covenant, if you need some sort of a swap here, take me. I'm happy to go, but save him. And then it was pretty desperate prayer. Like, it meant something, and I truly meant it with all my heart.
Like, take me.
Yeah. And then so in the morning I woke up, and Rachel had reached out and said he's okay. He's going to be fine. And then I went into a sickness that I can't describe. I've never been so sick in my entire life, like just Afghan gut, basically. And so I was just sitting in a shower. Everything's coming out of both ends for about 36 hours, to the point where I was like, this is it. Like, I made a deal. This is my end of the deal. And I would prefer to die not in a shower, like vomiting everywhere. But yeah, and that was kind of, I got through it clearly because I'm here. But that was clear to me that almost like my faith was being tested, but not to the point, something like the story of Isaac. It's like, well, Abraham will test him to the point to see if he's truly going to go through with this, but then just take it away at the last. Yeah. So yeah, that one kind of changed me. Helped solidify my relationship with God, but I just put Jesus in the religious basket and kind of pushed all of that away and didn't want any part of it, or just didn't have I just didn't understand. But yeah, that was probably one of the most pivotal moments for me.
Talk to us a little bit more about this part of you that keeps coming out, that is you are a defender, who you will lay down your life to help or defend the vulnerable or the needy. When did you first, has that always been in you? Tell us about that.
So I've thought about this before, but I don't really know where it started. And the thing is, I wouldn't describe myself that way. So that's what makes it difficult. And then I always question myself too, whether it's like what Pastor Joby talks about, doing all the things that make you look like a man in order to hide the fact that you're not. And so I've made a lot of decisions in my life that were in weakness and cowardice and were not what a real strong man should have done. And I think a lot of my protector comes as a way to try to be okay with that, with some of my past decisions. And I think that's part of it. But I don't know, like, I hadn't thought about it much until we spoke about it recently. But I do feel a need to protect. I think it comes down to the talents. I have the ability, I have the training, this weird apprenticeship of my life of just doing, like, being in health and fitness for a lot of it, then being in the military for a lot of it, and then it feels like a lot of those things are tying in to give me the ability now to defend. I just didn't quite have maybe something big enough and powerful enough to know where to sink that, and that's come along now. I
do want to give yourself a little bit of credit because you do have the time, you do have the training, but a lot of people do. We can both agree you have the heart. It's something that matters deeply to you, something that you are hoping to change your life for, that will take you from this place to go defend and protect those. Are you okay talking more about that? Like, what would your ultimate place be doing that?
This is another Jobyism. He talks about going from the warrior to becoming a king and then a seer. And I don't love the terminology that much because I would never naturally call myself a king of anything. But I like the concept being that there comes a time where it's time to step off the front line and stop fighting and start discipling men so that they can go to the front line. Right. So where I would like to be is in that, what he calls the king role, where I can disciple other men who want to go in and do some good for the world and defend the world, and I can kind of disciple them, lead them, and be that person. So that's ideally where I'd like it to end up.
That's good. And Crystal, you are such a, like you said, you wanted to feed the army.
Yeah.
You are such a nurturer. Tell us about your imprint. Tell us about how God created you uniquely. That here you are doing this, but how is it? Who are you in that way?
That's an interesting question. So I feel most at home, like caring for, cooking for, looking after other people. Like that, specifically my family. So my kids. That is where I feel like I thrive. So it's an interesting thing because it also, you know, I can have a tendency to go too far the other way and really like lose myself in that. But ultimately, I think God created me to be a nurturer of people and caretake. Like I love doing that. I love, you know, cooking for someone if they're not feeling well, or you know, making a beautiful home for my family. Yeah, it's just so it's been really challenging for me to have to go into the workforce because that's something that's like missing from you know, what used to be my primary role, but we're figuring it all out. God also made me strong.
He did.
And capable. So.
He did. What's cool about what God's Spirit does is he makes us a new creation, but he also gifted, you talked about the talents many times and burying those gifts. He also knit you together, each of you, in specific ways to go and have a purpose, to be a catalyst for change. And we can look at one person's calling and go, man, they are going to go do that. How would I ever compare to this?
Right.
And the truth is, and you guys are both touching on it, that God created you so specifically, called you specifically now by name to this faith. And he wants to not only the original DNA he put in there, now he wants to empower that to do something that never would have happened before.
Yeah. That is a phase of life I definitely feel like I am in right now. Yeah. And it's hard. Yeah. But it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to talk about your testimonies at a future place. So tell me right now, here you are, almost a year into this, 9 months, whatever it is for you. What challenges are there? Because a lot of people listening to this might either not be, you know, followers of Jesus, and some are going to be followers of Jesus for a long time. You'll have it all figured out, even though none of us do. Tell us what it's like right now, almost a year into this for both of you. Where is your passion? Where's your heart? What are you fighting through? What are you working through in this faith journey? Is it still all new? Where are you?
For me, the start of it, because if I do something, I'm going to do it big. And so I'm going to do it with everything that I have. That's why that first sermon spoke to me, because it was called All In, or Going All In on Faith. The hardest part probably at first was there's a famous saying in these Christian circles that when you go down the road of Christianity, you will be better but feel worse. And that was very true.
Yeah, because that is very true.
It was just a constant. I had to just keep pulling back these curtains of sin, and then every time you think you're done, like, oh, that's all of it. Then you'd sit down and pray and be like, all right, these ones as well. And all these things you think you can hide, and you realize you can't hide them from God. Mm-hmm. So then you have to repent them, speak them out loud in prayer. It's like continually peeling back layers of my life that were just weakness. Mm-hmm. And so to have to keep, every time I thought I was done, I have to peel one back. And that continues to this day, but at least the gaps between are a lot longer. Yeah. But yeah, those first few months, realizing just how far I'd strayed.
Right.
And as a child of God, how far I'd pushed away from that.
Right.
So that was hard for me to handle. So that was probably the hardest part for me.
And as a new follower, learning the beauty of God's justice and His call to be holy, but also His grace. When we have things pointed out in our life like that, the natural response is shame. Adam and Eve immediately ran and hid.
Yeah.
And we want to hide. That's why it feels harder. But
right.
Are you also awakening to this grace, this amazing that I am forgiven? And these things do keep coming up, but it's not shame-based.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that was probably the challenge at the start. Right now, yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm trying to discern now what calling is and what's not. And sometimes what He calls you to is terrifying. And to know that that's now going to be the default mode.
It's just being terrified all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about you?
Yeah, so I feel like our stories are sort of flip-flopped, right? Like the past 17 years of my life on paper would have looked like, quote unquote, like a perfect Christian, other than I was not a believer in God or Christ, but like
small
everything else, right? Like at home, married really young, then I had kids, at home with the kids, homeschooling, doing all the cooking and cleaning and all of that stuff. So for me then, to have my marriage fall apart, to be going through a divorce, like that's where I found God, is in that. Has been really interesting and challenging in so many ways because, there's so much shame in that, which is funny because I don't think if I would have been going through a divorce 3 years ago, that shame would be the same at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's just a funny thing to like kind of have it. It's sort of like opposite to Aaron, where you were like doing all this stuff and now you feel like, oh, I have to repent, or, mine sort of opposite, where I was like, oh, I was actually living like this really beautiful, sweet life and found God, and now I'm like, oh, now I have to wrestle with what's happening now, not what I was doing for the past 20 years.
Yeah, I haven't thought about this before, but like, I blew up my life and then found God. You found God and blew up your life.
Yeah. So it's like, it's like a pretty funny flip flop of where we're at.
Yeah.
Because, it's just God's funny. His timing's His timing.
Yes.
It's funny.
Both your journeys have been so unique to get to those decision points, and then unique as you move through them.
Yeah. And
you especially, here we are, it is Easter week. And this weekend, something really big happens. A year ago. So first of all, before you tell us what's going to happen this weekend, tell us what were you doing, thinking, feeling a year ago today?
A year ago today, I was feeling so lost, but also so ready to answer God's call. Like, He has been calling me back for a while. And so in February a year ago, my oldest daughter got really sick. We ended up on her second flight for life. And I was just on that little airplane like, okay, I'm done ignoring you. And I've been talking about this for a couple years. I've been talking about it to my ex-husband, to select friends of like, God's calling me and He's been calling me and I don't know what that is. Is it tradition am I looking for? Am I looking for like nostalgia of my childhood? What am I looking for? Because obviously it couldn't have just been God.
Right.
But, so that February I was on a flight for life and just immediately started praying. I was like, all right, you know, because in that I was going through marriage stuff and it was just like, kind of like I am at the bottom essentially. And so got home, got her all settled, and just one day announced, like, I'm going to church on Easter. I would love for all of you to come. Whoever wants to come is absolutely welcome to come. But I'm going because I need this. Yeah. And my 3 daughters chose to come with me, which was beautiful. And the whole message of the service was hope. Yeah. At a time where I was like, yeah, I don't have that. So it's pretty cool.
God lined it up.
Right? God lined it up perfectly. And so I'm very excited because this Sunday I'll be baptized.
And that's
on
the
Easter.
thing. A year later, she's being baptized. And we've been talking about this. You're going to get baptized, and not only just to tell your testimony, but to speak to those who are sitting there where you were sitting a year ago.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's really cool. And because my life is far from easier than it was a year ago, it's a lot harder in a lot of ways. In other ways, it's not. Other ways, it's so infinitely more beautiful because living an outward life that's not matching up with your inner truth is so hard.
Right.
It's crushing.
Right.
And so while I had that crushing weight, now I have like, my outward life and my inner life are matching. And there are logistical things that are insanely hard about it.
Yeah.
But I have God.
Right.
And I know that I'll get through it.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you nervous about this baptism?
No.
That's amazing.
You know, the things I'm nervous about are like logistical.
Right.
Yeah. But about the baptism itself, no.
You know, baptism is so interesting. The way we do it, you know, you're pretty much taking a bath publicly, public speaking. Like let's just stack
like your public speaking in a tub full of
lifetime
water.
fears. Like get in the water in front of everyone and then speak.
Yeah.
And so I just applaud your courage on that.
Thank you.
That's pretty amazing.
And I was baptized as a baby, you know, because that's what I grew up Lutheran, and that's just what they did. So this feels. So I'm not nervous about it. I didn't want to do it. God told me.
Yeah.
Not last Sunday, but the Sunday before. Like I came into the service and the music started playing and he's like, oh, you're getting baptized on Easter. I'm like, no, I'm not. That's so silly. That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Why would you think that? And then he just like laughing, like, no, you are. Like, no.
Right.
No. He just kept telling me like, fine, okay.
Yeah.
Then you started the sermon, and then the sermon was all about sharing the faith, which is what we've been doing with the podcast. And he's like, you're inviting this friend of yours. I'm like, no, I'm not. That's so silly.
Just back there in a debate the entire
like,
time.
Yeah,
right?
I was. And I was like laughing out loud to myself.
I hear your way. Here's my way.
Here's my way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I kept thinking, no, I'm not doing that. You know, that's also silly. So, right, I came up to you before the service was even over. It's like, if I wait, I'm not doing it.
I love that.
So.
Yeah. Well, I told you guys at the beginning, one of the things that the whole following Jesus comes down to, hearing and then listening and saying yes.
Yeah.
And just to let you behind the scenes, last Easter was this huge service where, the cardboard testimony, and we had this big moment planned, and over 200 people responded and came down and got hope, and it was amazing. Well, there's a lot of pressure on me.
Yeah, that was a big one.
What are we going to do this year?
Yeah.
And God has consistently told me, just wait. And I'm like, what do you mean wait? I can't do cardboard tests. I can't do the same thing. What's the thing? Like, what's the thing? And there's like, to let you under the hood, there's always pressure. Like, how do you perform? How do you do better? And God just like settled me down and said, my son, I have this. Do you trust me? And so I'm just trusting that God's going to start knitting this together. And then you come up to me and say, I'm going to get baptized on Easter. And I'm like, oh God, you are in this.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about how your story is part of my sermon and how we're going to call so many people wanderers and skeptics and people home to the Father. And so by the time they hear this, it'll be over. But I'm just so excited to see what God's going to do this year.
I'm excited too. Still nervous about what to wear standing in that tab, but we'll figure that out.
Figure it out. Scuba suit. Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, you can't wear jeans. That's weird.
One thing that you both said, and this is what I love as a pastor, is There are Sundays I invite certain people to come to certain sermons because I know it'll connect.
Yeah.
And they say no.
Yeah.
I have friends that won't come on the weeks that I really want them to, and they'll come on some random week, and I'm like, oh.
Like, no, this was not the
one.
week.
They're
Not
like,
the one where we have to talk about, like, donations
right,
or whatever.
exactly, money or like, whatever. And I'm like, oh, no. And, but God has a way of having people be drawn at exactly the right time. You both mentioned the week you were there was the week you needed to be there.
Yeah.
And if it had been flip-flopped, it might not have been the same.
Right.
And that's just such a God this is what he does when he calls you to step out, is he meets you there. Mm-hmm. Where are some ways that God has continued as he has asked you to step out? You said this has been more and more risk. And one thing about the Christian life, there's a quote, I think it's C.S. Lewis, that says, if you want a comfortable life, definitely don't choose this one.
No.
Because God's in the habit of asking people to step out of perfectly good boats and try to walk on water and risk. And risk is a part of it. Where are some areas where he has asked you or is asking you to risk, where he's met you in that?
You want to go?
Yeah, I mean, this sounds silly because I don't believe in praying for outcomes necessarily, right? But I can say over the past year journey of, or more than a year, I keep saying a year, but now we're well past a year of my marriage shifting. Mm-hmm. All of the things where I was like, we live in the most expensive place. Mm-hmm. Like all of these things, how is this ever going to work? I haven't worked outside of the home in 13 years, whatever it is. Every hurdle I've gotten to, God's provided. Mm. And provided in a way that I could have never come up with on my own. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like that image of the little girl holding the flower, and she's like, but Jesus, I like this. And he's like, I have something more beautiful, and he has that huge bouquet behind his back. Yeah. And so those are... Because I don't necessarily... The reason I hesitate to talk about it is because I don't think that God typically operates in that way for most of us, and myself included in a lot of ways, but just really shown up and provided and said like, oh, you need this here, this path, this path, this path. And it's kind of, when I look back on the past year and a half, it's been really incredible in that way. And that's been part of my, like, I just need clarity and I need strength. Yeah. And I also believe like in personal responsibility. Like it's up to us to, listen to that and act. And like God doesn't just hand us everything we want. So that's, I guess, my hesitancy to talk about that. Because while all these things have lined up for me, it's also incredibly challenging. Oh, yeah. Like I've never been more tired or exhausted or, all the things. But it's been amazing. It's been amazing how he's consistently shown up. Yeah. In huge ways. Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, like, brokenness is never his plan. But God moves in our brokenness. Mm-hmm. He moves when things are broken. And I love these, if you read throughout the Bible, and there's different names that give nuances to God. It's like a diamond. When you look through a different facet of the same diamond, you see a new way. Mm-hmm. And one of his names is Yahweh Jireh, the God who provides. And so he is the God that meets each of us. He is enough. He gives us what we need. And sometimes he doesn't give us what we want in any way. No. And like, if you just would have saved this, I'm divorced. If you just saved my marriage, then and he gave me what I needed. And the brokenness happened, and then he was provided in the brokenness, right? And like, look at this beautiful life you have created with these two beautiful children. Where if you had answered your prayer to save that first marriage, we wouldn't be sitting here. Your beautiful kids wouldn't be here. Right. And so it's not what you wanted at all. No. And that's the part of it, is that humanity's broken. We make broken decisions. Yeah. Things happen. And God in his greatness moves in the midst of it. So one thing for you of God as being provided is that is nothing, part of the danger of Christianity is preachers like me saying, hey, if you come to Jesus, he's going to give you everything. Yeah. Healthy and wealthy. That's not. And you're like, well, I haven't experienced that. Well, the people in the Bible didn't experience that. Mm-hmm. And so one thing you're saying, though, is that God is a God who provides for you. Yes. And he has continued to provide. As you've stepped forward, he has met you there. Yes. He makes a way in the wilderness. And what would you say to somebody right now who's listening, believer or not, who says, I am running on scarcity, and I am running low on hope, and I don't know this God who provides? Oh, that's a big one. I don't know, because but just from your point of view, I'm in that constant. I'm like, okay, here I am again. Like it's almost daily. I'm both of those people, right?
Well, that's the beauty of it. It wasn't like you trusted once and it was solved, right?
Oh, no. No. This is like a daily roller coaster for me.
Even from when we first heard from God to start going to church, it was over a year for both of us before we got in here.
Yes.
It's a constant battle.
It's a
that one
constant
was
battle.
slow. I think it's been fast since.
Yeah.
The one thing that has been hitting me lately, you can have worry or you can have faith. What is it? One fixes nothing, one gives you everything.
Yeah.
And so making that conscious decision of, I'm in a worry loop. What is that going to get me? Right? Or I can be in a faith loop. And I think there was a day last week, or maybe it was this week, where I was like, Aaron, I was just in these like desperate prayers and such a spiral, and I go take a shower, and then immediately this text comes through that was like, okay. It wasn't the answer. It didn't solve everything. It didn't really solve anything, but it was like, if I just switch my perspective.
Yeah.
So I think whether that's faith in God, which would be beautiful, but it also feels so good to not be in control of everything.
Right.
Like, thank goodness.
And we never were, but
No.
we just have a better sense of it now.
Like to not be just, and again, I say this from a place of like, this is a daily, sometimes hourly, sometimes minute struggle for me.
Yeah.
Of like, I'm doing it again, let go.
Yeah.
But hopefully that gets easier as time goes on.
I think to the question, if somebody is stuck in a moment, I think this speaks to the beauty of us doing the podcast, because if somebody is stuck in that moment, they can literally reach out to us on Instagram and we can help, because we've been there and we're not experts. We don't know what we're doing, and we're not famous enough to not be able to read out text messages.
Yeah.
So if they if somebody is stuck in that moment, feel free to reach out.
So you hear that,
Absolutely.
CruciFit. Like, if you are out there and you have questions that come up from any of these episodes, questions,
Yeah.
We'd
prayer
love the
requests,
feedback.
or even
Absolutely.
like you're stuck, reach
Prayer
out to these
requests,
guys.
I
Yeah.
would
Powerful.
love to pray for other people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful thing we can do.
I love that. And for you, you came on a week, and just to catch them up a little bit, there was this rope. It's an amazing Francis Chan. He's a preacher who did this, where there's a long rope that represents eternity, and there's this little teeny bit that represents your life, and how we put so much into this life, but in view of eternity, it's tiny, and it's to make your one life count. Make your life count. What is it about that theme that grabbed you when you first walked in, and how does that still affect you?
Yeah, at the time, probably one of the biggest struggles I've had throughout my whole adult life, if not probably before. I relate to what you said on the last episode, that I felt called to something great my whole life. But I also didn't have the courage to step into what that responsibility looked like. So I just pushed it away. And I never knew what that would be, and I still don't really know what that's going to be. But I always pushed that away. And so coming into that particular sermon, I came in the back of my mind. I actually, just to rewind a little bit, I'd come from an absolute rock bottom, absolute rock bottom for me, that we'll get into probably in a testimony. But I got to that point where I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this on my own. So I need help. And I was praying about it, and I got the help that I needed through prayer, which in the space of a year led me to come in. And so in the back of my mind, I'd come here because I'd given up trying to do it myself. But I knew that there's something called on me for greatness, and I've never been able to piece that puzzle together. And so that's always in the back of my mind. I come to church, and then the whole sermon is about, what are your talents? Where are you different to other people? What skills do you have that others don't? And like, how can you utilize those things? And it just really spoke to that gnawing that I've had my whole life, where it's like, you are called to something, figure out what that is. And I've never been able to figure out what that is, but then to just hear you talk, it kind of gave me a bit of clarity around, well, what can I do differently? Like, where am I different to other people?
Right.
How can I maybe, like I said, I'm not great at picking up on the obvious things, but maybe my calling is the great call, like the Great Commission, just to spread the word of God. So how can I spread it in a way that others don't?
Right.
And it just started to piece together.
Yeah.
But it also spoke to some of my fears as well.
Really?
So fears around, like, I wrote this one down. This is my notes from the sermon. when that third man buries his treasure and he's met with, "You wicked and lazy servant," that terrifies me.
Yeah.
And I take that story as to mean you are given talents from God.
Yeah.
You go out and utilize them to grow them, nurture them, and then reward the kingdom tenfold or fivefold. But if you bury them in fear because you don't want to be judged or you don't want to be, questioned by your peers or for whatever prideful reason, and that it really hit me. I really struggled with pride most of my life, and to just realize in that sermon that my pride is stopping me from leveraging my talents to do work for the kingdom.
Yeah.
He's going to see me and say, "You wicked and lazy servant."
Yeah.
And I just think it all kind of rolled in and spoke to me.
That's good. It's amazing how you showed up with a need for hope, and you had this calling but wanted clarity. And when the Bible continually talks about how he gives us, it's a lamp unto our feet, his word is, and how he will give us maybe the next step. Well, you want to know how the whole story is going to end.
Oh, I really
That
would
would be the
like
greatest
to.
hope, right?
Yeah.
That would be like, give me the hope, give me the whole thing, give me the whole calling. Like if you just show me what it is, I'll do it.
Right.
And he goes, take the next step. What's a next step he's asking each of you? In the CruciFit, in life, in something.
I mean, mine is the baptism. Like that was my clear.
Yeah.
Like here's your next
Absolutely.
step. You're getting baptized. So, for me that.
Yeah. And then after that, we'll see what's next.
Yeah,
And who
I'll see
knows
what's
what's going to
next.
come from
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What about you?
That's a good one. I know what my very next step is, but I don't want to talk about that for reasons. We will talk about it
Yes.
at a later date.
Yeah.
Testimony and baptism as well.
Yeah.
I think mine will look a little different to Crystal's, but in terms of the baptism, but that's there too.
Nice.
I have to get that. Like I feel I'm being told that has to happen
Absolutely.
right away.
Yeah.
And so there's that. Yeah. The more I think about that, like I think that has there's so much power in that.
Yeah.
So I think it sounds like I don't want to say just, but doing the baptism is going to be the most powerful next step of obedience that we can possibly do.
Yes.
And then from there, I'll see what the next step is. But I don't want to think about two steps. It's just
One
first-
step.
Yeah,
It's
that
hard
first
enough,
step is-
right?
Well, like because baptism is saying like I'm yours, God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. That's huge.
Yeah. And letting everyone know that this thing I made, this is public. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And this has been a baptism of sorts. You guys declaring going public.
Yeah.
And so I'm really amazed by your journeys and how you continue to say yes.
Thank you.
And what I hear in this and what I want people to hear in this is you don't come to Jesus and it all gets easy.
No, it doesn't.
In fact, life is still broken and we're still broken and it's hard. But one thing God gives us is resource on the inside. And you even mentioned, I think, when your inside matches your outside, like God will resource you divinely with strength and peace and purpose in a way that you never had before.
Yeah.
You move from scarcity to abundance, but it's all internal. It's not like
Yes.
you get it all outside all of a sudden.
Yeah, I heard somebody say once that we think that if we hand our life over to Jesus, that we will then receive abundance. And what they're imagining abundance is like riches and all this stuff.
Yes.
But they're like, you
Yes.
do receive abundance. Jesus is the abundance.
Jesus
Because
is
it's
the
everything you ever need.
Right.
And there's a tendency to want to be like, I'm going to it's all going to be easy and I'm going to get everything I want. Like it's not that.
And Jesus said, in this life, you will have trouble. Like he just said it.
Yeah.
But you know what? You have trouble with or without Jesus.
Absolutely.
And so you might as well have Jesus. like, you know?
I mean, you might as well, right?
Yeah.
I love it.
Because it is. Like life, you have trouble regardless.
Yeah. Yeah. What gets in the way of some of your audiences, they're listening to this and they're not, they're kind of checking this out. They know you or they've like some of the athletes. What gets in, what was in your way as an atheist and someone who was doing your thing, your pride? What were some things in your way that might be in the way of others out there that you've had to deal with to come to a place of decision? What stopped you for so long?
Yeah.
That one I can speak to because for me, it was easy. It was knowing this path would require an absolute crucifixion of the old me. And I just didn't want to do that. I didn't want to give up the thought of like sleeping around or the thought of drinking alcohol or doing drugs or any of the vices that just hooked me. I enjoyed them.
Yeah.
And so to commit to this would be a total crucifixion of that. And I'd given all that stuff away
Right.
for a couple of years. But I liked the thought of being able to go back. That was it. And so that thought of knowing that I'd have to crucify that past version of me and then people know that version of me, and they're going to see this and just think, roll their eyes and be like,
What's this guy doing?
Yeah, what's he doing? But yeah, that for me, that's an easy one for me to answer, because it was just, and it feels like, the way it feels to me is like hooks, and I have all these hooks into a past life, and they're all pulling me back, and there's one at a time, and every time I think I'm done with the hooks, there's another one pulling me back, and I have to pull that one out. And I think that's why it's taken me so long to get to a baptism, because I'm still discovering these hooks that are holding me back, a little bit at a time.
That's good.
That is good. So mine's similar, because what came to me was identity. Like, we are so good at building an identity of who we are that it's really hard to change that. And it's not only we're used to the identity that we have built for ourselves, but all of our loved ones are used to that identity too. And when you shift that, that's really hard for a lot of people in your life. It's also can be hard for yourself. So
that's good.
Like, I'm a chronic, horribly disabling at times people pleaser, and so to know that making this decision would really upset people in my life, that was really hard. So I do feel like we build these identities, and we also build these boxes for other people. Like, we've talked about this on the podcast, but there's can be a real narrative in our country that, like, to believe in God and to be a Christian is kind of like silly, or like you're kind of a dummy. I mean, that's a real narrative out there.
It's worse in Australia.
Yeah. And so if you've built your identity around, I'm this person, and then there can be a cultural narrative of like, well, actually I'm feeling this, but the cultural narrative around that is negative, or can be negative. I'm learning that it's the opposite. The people I want to be around, it's actually like, don't hold that at all. So, social circles are certainly changing because of it. But I think we get so rooted in our identity of who we are that it can be really hard and scary to change that, even if the chains of that identity are not serving us. They're like, we're used to them. So,
well, both of you touched on something that's important, and I think it might be important for people to hear out there. And that is, you said, if I make this decision, there's part of me that has to die, and it's part of me that was like just wild, and I got to do whatever I wanted. And there's a part of me that, as my identity changes, there are people probably in both of your lives who don't accept all this Jesus stuff, and they watch you claim this new identity, and they probably view it as just like putting on a coat, like they're just conforming to something, trying something new on, and it has not gone over well with them.
Oh, I have those for sure. I don't know if you have them so much.
So if you're going to open up right now, and say the heart of who I am, let me tell you what this decision has meant to me. In vulnerability, not just like, hey, I am now a Jesus person, because it's not that.
Right.
What would you say this identity shift has actually been for you?
Oh, wow. Okay. Aaron, you can go if you need to, because I'm thinking about this.
Yeah, for me, it's funny that you mentioned the heart, like, because I've got a lot of tattoos. I went to Mexico recently, and I wanted to get a faith tattoo, and it's funny. All my tattoos have a weird story that I don't know at the time, and then it's prophetic,
right?
And it doesn't make any sense, but they've all been prophetic. But I have a military tattoo on my chest. But when I got that done, I didn't want it on this side of the chest, and at the time I didn't know why, but all I knew is that I was saving my heart for something more important than my military service. Wow. And then when I went down to get my tattoo, and I was figuring out where I was going to put it. Originally, it was going to be a cover-up, and there's a whole prophetic story to that as well. But it occurred to me that that's what I was saving my heart for. And so now I have the crucifix tattooed on my heart.
Oh, that's cool.
And so it's also a declaration that there's no turning back for me.
Yeah.
And that's how it's changed my identity. My identity's dead. I don't have an identity now. It's just in Christ. Whatever He has for me, I'll just go along with, and that's kind of the shift.
Right. Has there been pushback on that from some people?
Not from me. Strangely, I thought there might be.
Yeah.
I thought maybe like some of my military peers would be weird about it. Australia's so secular that thought at the very least, yeah, I'd get some, but no. Like for me, it's been.
I feel like it's been the opposite for you.
Yeah, it has
Actually,
been very
so
smooth.
many
People have reached out and they said,
Yeah.
you've given me strength to talk about faith.
Awesome. And then you have the silent people who are just right now probably listening and watching your life to see like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
How is this actually going to go? How long is this going to last?
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
For me, I don't doubt there's some people thinking, how long will this last? But yeah, it's been. I haven't received the negative in the same way Crystal has.
Yeah, and so the question is, what would I tell them, right?
yeah, just this identity shift. How seismic has this been for you?
I mean, for me personally, it's been everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's been admitting that I needed help in a way, like, beyond tangible help. You know, that God's been talking to me for a long time. And for me, it's just like this, there's so much beauty in saying, oh my gosh, I'm not God, He is. I can give it to Him and rest. And for me, it saved me. So, I mean, other than that, I don't really know what to say. It's more, thank God for God.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't really know how else to add to that other than it's so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's amazing in this culture, in American culture oftentimes, is people can feel, you can come out and say, I feel like anything. And they will celebrate your feeling about how you identify.
Yeah.
And here you are, you've had this shift of identity that's so deep, it's not
Yeah.
even feeling, because your feeling doesn't touch it sometimes.
No.
Because of what you're going through.
Yeah.
But it's soul, spirit level, and you have this deep thing within you.
Yeah.
And there are people who don't want to accept your identity.
Right.
You know? And the irony of that, and I guess part of, one question would be, you have now seen culture. You have come from one culture, and then you've been immersed and baptized and literally getting baptized into a church culture.
Yeah.
How, as you kind of still stand in between these two, tell me the differences that you now see clearly coming from where you were to where you are now.
Ooh. I see flawed people, which I always did, but I see flawed people who want to be better. Mm-hmm. And so we all have a background, we all have our sins, and we're not a perfect church, being the people of Christ. But we're rooted in truth. So there's a community now that's rooted in truth rather than rooted in seeking comfort and seeking, gratification.
Pleasure,
and so it feels like I've moved from a culture of pride-driven, sin-driven, gratitude-seeking to just as broken, but honestly trying to be better. That's like the biggest shift that I see. And so it's just so much. There's just something to being around people who genuinely want to be better people, and for a bigger purpose.
Yeah.
Not just because it looks good.
Right. That's good.
Yeah. To tag onto that too is people who also want the best for you, regardless of what that looks like for them.
It's interesting because
Yeah.
they're in the before faith, there are people who accept you and just let you do whatever and endorse it. And in the church, there should be people who see your sin and know you're working through it, and they know your identity and they endorse what Jesus is doing in there. But in both of those, there is so much judgment. And someone like you passing from one to the other is getting arrows from both sides half the time.
Yeah,
Could
that's
be,
been interesting,
front
right?
and back. you
Yeah,
know?
like it has absolutely felt like that, this
Yeah.
transition.
Yeah.
It's, but it's all okay.
And God has, and
Yeah.
this is what I love about this, is both of you have this story. And I can't wait to hear as you both get deeper into your testimonies, because I want to hear the stories.
Yeah.
But one thing I love about God is He doesn't just go back and delete the beginning of the book.
Right.
He takes all the pain, takes all the childhood trauma. He takes all the hardship and the abuse and the victories and the success and the accomplishments. He takes all of it and he intersects your life at some point. And when you surrender to him, it's like this new page, and he starts writing something new, new purpose, new calling. But it's you. Like you don't like get absorbed into the energy and lose yourself. Like you are you. He is just with you now in this way. And so I'm excited to see as God continues to write your stories and show you what is next.
Me too.
It's really cool.
It's cool.
There's something powerful in the thought of God being an author, not just a creator. It's something I've been thinking a lot about lately when I'm reading my Bible. Is that as people we tend to say that nothing is perfect, but the Bible is perfect. Mm-hmm. Every story turns out exactly how it needed to. And so when we say nothing's perfect, that's so short-sighted. It's not perfect now. Like my divorce or whatever might feel bad now, or my incessant need for sin might feel bad now, or this person who passed away or left my life, it all feels bad now, but we don't know the ending. So it's so short-sighted to say nothing's perfect, the world is bad, when the Bible shows us that there is perfection. Everything ends up perfect, exactly as it was planned, exactly as it was written. We just don't have the time frame yet.
Yeah.
But in time, it will be perfect.
That's really good.
And we've talked a lot about that too. That just because we don't see it now, doesn't mean there's not that perfect ending. That how sad it is to think that it's all just bad because it's bad.
Yeah. Like you're in the middle of the book and you're like, this chapter's terrible. This book, the ending's terrible.
Yeah.
You would never do that.
No.
You know?
Yeah, it's absurd
or in a
when you
movie.
say it that way.
You know? But we get in our life and go, God is, this is so terrible. God must be real, and there's nothing else ahead of this.
Right.
There's this, what you were talking about is the purpose and how God has a progress toward perfect. He's perfecting us. Yeah. And people think, oftentimes when they look at people who are coming to faith, they think they're perfect, or because a lot of Christians feel the pressure to act perfect.
Right.
All of a sudden I have to dress, act, and be different in perfection. And so that's where the judgment comes in. But there's this one illustration I've always loved my whole life, and that is about how God refines us. And it even talks about it in the Bible, but it has this example. But it's about silver and how they would, and have you heard this about how they would purify silver? And they would get the silver and they would heat it. And the master he would heat the silver to such a degree that all the imperfections would kind of rise to the top. And then he would skim off the top, the dross, and he would get rid of it. And in a lot of our lives, there are things within us, old ways, new ways, present ways, where we have so much imperfection. And life heats us. God's presence asks us to step out and risk. And those things, they have some of those imperfections come to the surface. Like things you're going through, things you're going through. Imperfections come up.
Yep.
And God wants those to come. And when you get so down, you said, I feel so bad, I feel so ashamed. That when they come up, I had my uncle, he used to just celebrate when he would have an imperfection. Like, I can't believe I get to confront this.
Oh, cool.
That was his idea, because he says, God, thank you that this selfishness has come out, because the master silversmith would then remove the dross as it came up, and they would heat it again, and he would keep doing it. And the question was always, when is the refining done? How does he know when it's pure? And you know how he'd say, when the master can see his reflection in it. And what God wants is to see his reflection, his identity within us. And so there are no, we're not claiming perfection.
No.
But we have a perfect God who through, as life heats us and as imperfections and sins come up, and as he helps remove them and take our selfishness and replace it with selflessness, he wants to see his reflection, his identity in us. And greater than that even the people out there who are judging us, that they would begin to see his divine reflection in us. And they would see
really
something
powerful.
I love that.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so one thing to look for in your guys' life and people listening is that God, like those things that continue to come up that we just feel so bad about, they're in there.
Yeah.
Like we shouldn't be surprised.
Right.
And when they come up.
And they're in all of us.
And they are in all of us.
Like
and
it's not, we get a tendency to be like, oh, it's just me. I'm the only one struggling in this way.
Exactly. Oh, no.
No.
And I wish I was more like my uncle. Praise God, this selfishness came up.
Yeah.
I get to deal with it now. And I just thought, man, you are wild.
Yeah.
And he was. And he actually would take that and in humility It was an amazing man. And in great humility, he would go back in his own time and wrestle with that and come out more refined with more of the master's face. So cool.
That
So
is
cool.
cool. I love that.
I love that too. So thank you.
We'll wrap it up there. Thank you again.
Hey, it's
Keep
been an
going.
honor to sit with you guys.
So
I do have a
beautiful.
question because I know there's lots of
Oh,
people
yeah,
out there
keep
listening.
going.
Last one. What kind of people are you looking to sit or to talk to? Like there's people out there maybe listening or come across this who have a story, who are part of something. What kind of person would you want to talk to?
I mean, we'll be honest.
Yeah.
We want to hear about the lamb that ventured off and got dirty, got muddy,
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
in there, got in the thick of it, and then was rescued and brought back to the flock.
That
Even
resonates
if
with
they
us
keep
because
jumping
that's
back.
us.
in the ditch.
Yeah.
The wanderers,
The
the
wanderers.
prodigals.
Yeah. It's,
Yeah.
you know, it's wonderful to celebrate all of everyone's successes, but I think where we learn often is other people's failures
That's it.
too.
Yeah.
And so people who are willing to be honest about all of that
Yeah.
too. Like,
Yeah, that's really good. It's good. Good stories. People who may have had success in areas, but the vulnerability to say, this is what it cost me. This is what I've been through.
Yeah.
This is what I would love that. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for letting me be a part of it.
thank
Oh, it's
you.
a pleasure.
It's our honor.
It's been great.
Oh my gosh. I mean, neither of us would be. Well, I don't know. I shouldn't say that because I don't know what God's plan is, but I don't know that either of us would be sitting here doing this if it weren't for you and what you've created here. So thank you.
I love that our church is a place where wanderers and muddy sheep, as you put it, can come find a home.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Like, share the podcast, check us out on Instagram, and send us a message on there if you have any questions or want to reach out to us. Reach
Yeah.
out directly. We will happily answer any questions.
Please.
Thanks.
All right, lift heavy, pray hard.
Lift heavy, pray hard.
God bless.